Traveling to Eichenloh.
Only through conflict do we evolve.
So everyone can meet on point 1, where Trippin is standing.
Under the choke.
I found it. Hello.
Okay, so everyone's good, correct?
Yep.
I just start talking. Awesome. So I'm just gonna start off talking a little bit about where I think Doomfist sort of fits in team compositions and in the meta. So Doomfist, I think all of his value comes from his versatility. So he does nothing best, but he does almost everything second or third best. So he's amazing at just getting insta kills because of his combos and his fist. Although he's not better than Widow, who can do it every 3 seconds. Also, he's really good at sort of helping the front line because he has so much CC and he can push people back, but he's not as good as, for example, Junkrat, who gets a shift up so often and knocks people really, really high and really far back, as well as doing insane damage into quad and triple tank comps. Doomfist is also amazing at protecting his backline because all of his abilities have CC, and he does have a 4-second stun with his fist. But I don't think he's better than McCree is. Typically, you'd run a hit scan to guard your supports if that's an issue.
I have a question. What's the
Yeah.
CC?
Oh, sorry. CC is crowd control. So
Got it.
it either like locks positioning, so it forces an enemy back, or just sort of it forces their movement or forces their space like to be denied. So, for example, when I punch Strippin, she gets knocked back. That's a CC because she can't move forward. Same thing with your seismic slam. It pulls people towards you. And your shift locks people in their momentum, so she can't move until she lands again. So all of your abilities have crowd control. So you can kind of deny space or just not let people walk in because you can keep pushing them back.
I found the enemy.
So Doomfist value comes through moving fluidly from the back line to front line, peeling for your healers and DPS, and helping your front line when the enemies are trying to walk in. Is there any questions about what I just said? Was that understood?
Yep, I'm with you.
Cool beans. Well, first we're going to talk about Doomfist's hand cannon. A general rule is you never want the hand cannon to be full and you never want it to be empty. Since there's no reload mechanic, there's no point in it being full because then you're kind of wasting the resources of it coming back slowly. The rule is 1 or 2 shots. So if I'm poking before a fight starts, I want to do 2 shots, then hide. When it's reloaded, 2 shots. You can use the same rule for in between your abilities. So if you punch, you can use 2 shots. If you seismic slam, 2 shots, or if you uppercut, 2 shots. Sometimes I'll do 1 if I know I'm gonna get a kill without the second one. But until you get a little bit better or mechanically there, it's just good to use 2 shots basically between each ability. Or if you have it full, just peek around the corner where you know an enemy is and shoot 2. You don't lose any value by shooting those 2. The reload mechanic is the same as Tracer's shift or Tracer's blanks, so it comes back slowly. You don't need to press R, and pressing R actually doesn't help it at all. So you might as well always have it just coming back slowly, because there's no point in having it full. It doesn't do you any benefit. Do you guys have any questions about the hand cannon?
Yeah, how much damage does it do?
It does 11 pellets, and each pellet does 6 damage. So if you hit all the shots in the body, it does 66.
And does it...
I recommend...
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
You're saying, you're giving me numbers, but is that for body shots or headshots or...
That's body shots. So 66 damage for body shots. And I recommend always shooting the body. Roadhog's basically the only character where your spread will hit his hitbox if you hit him in the head. but every single character just aim at their biggest part or at their center. It'll give you the most benefit. You should never really count on headshot damage because the spread will actually lose you more damage than if you just got the guaranteed shots on his body.
Got it.
And since there's now 11 pellets that do 6 damage each, the damage fall off is a little bit better. So you can use it at a range, and you'll see that you actually get all pretty quick if you're just always pounding those 2 shots around corners. You can use it for mid to short range, but I recommend always having 4 when you're ready to go in because you have a lot more benefit from using a short range.
Wait, so there is damage fall off?
Yes, there is,
Okay.
but it's pretty small, and since each shot only does 6 damage, the damage fall off is a lot slower than every other gun. So McCree's damage is really, really bad on a distance, whereas Doomfist, even if you're at max range, you're doing a guaranteed 11, which I think McCree, even at, what is it, like 45 or 50 meters, he does basically 20. So it's not that bad.
I'm also noticing that his bullets, they're projectile. They're not hit scan. Is that right?
Yeah, his bullets are projectiles, so it's very similar to Roadhog's primary fire with the spread coming out. So you can barrel jam an enemy in the body to get your guaranteed free 66 damage. That's kind of how I recommend using it. It should always be used into the body. And like when you're poking, you can use it at a distance, but you should never really... If you're far enough to worry about the projectile aspect of it, you might be too far.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Unless you're trying to clean up. Yeah, but that is a good point. If you are cleaning up a kill, you do want to lead your shots if they're a little bit further away. So we can come here for phase 2, and we're going to start talking about Doomfist's sort of main ability, his punch, which is your alternate fire. So Doomfist punch can be used for 2 reasons. It can be used to do damage, or it can be used for mobility. So first, we're just going to talk about mobility. Doomfist mobility is actually what makes him such a versatile character. You can move from frontline to backline really easily, and especially since your punch is on such a short cooldown and you can travel very far with it, it kind of adds to his kit. So if we come back, everyone put your backs against this wall, and just do 1 charged punch as far as you can down this corridor. So you all saw how far you go. I'm going to show you a little trick to get a little bit further. So that's where we went. When I do it, watch how much further I go. Oh, I messed up. It's the EU servers. There's a little bit of lag. So do you see how I reached this and you guys only reached where your stamps are? If you fully charge and as you're traveling you hit space, you'll feel a little bit of a bump. This bump makes you travel twice as far.
Is that in the middle of the charge? Or in the beginning?
Do it for the full. If you're full charging the fist, do it at the, halfway through. The later you can do it, the further you'll go. But if the punch finishes before you hit space, you won't get the bounce.
Oh, so you have to hit spacebar as it's charging.
No. Hit space as the punch is releasing. So I hit space right now. I messed up again. The leg is really killing me, but you want to do it halfway. Yeah, there you go. You want to do it halfway through the punch. If you're waiting too long, just try and do it a little bit earlier. Do it like almost as soon as you release, and you'll feel it. So you can also do this with just the tap of punch to go, I think 2 or 3 times as far as regular punch brings you. So everyone go backs to the wall again. And this one will be a little bit easier until you get used to pressing space. Just do a regular punch, and it only brings you about 5 meters. It's not very far. If you press and hold space before you punch, so right now I'm still holding space, so make sure everyone has their space pressed. And then if you punch, it'll already do the bump for you for free, and you'll get probably, I think this is about 15 meters. So
when do you let go of space?
I never let go of space. I just hold it, and I press punch, and then I get the bounce for free. So that's a bit of an easier mechanic if you're having trouble getting the full punch space off. And if you need to get away a lot faster, you can instantly get away. So all you do is you press, you press and hold space and then punch. The only thing about this is it turns Doomfist Punch from one of the more lethal moves in the game to strictly mobility. So If you hit someone while you're doing the space punch or the bump punch, it won't do damage. So watch how far back I am from tripping. I'm gonna hit her with my bump punch, and I'm just gonna stop, and she's not gonna take any damage. So it just stops me right in front of her. She took no damage, and it didn't stun her. So you want to be careful. You basically only want to use this when you're coming back from spawn, or if you're in trouble to get out.
Okay.
So having this mobility is really useful because, for example, if they took first point and now I'm here defending second point, I want to be getting some ult charge. So I want to be playing this corner. Yeah. So I see the Doomfist coming, or I see the Roadhog coming. I'm getting my free ult charge off, but as soon as I see the Roadhogs coming in towards me, I want to get out. So I just use my space punch and I'm out. She can't hook me.
I found it.
So that's a really big benefit. It allows you to position forward and actually build your ult charge. So as soon as you see her, you should actually just run back. So let's all take a chance practicing this. So stand on this corner and try and just get a little bit of free poke. But as soon as you see Trippid walk out of sort of where the castle doors are, you should use your bump punch to get out.
Okay.
So we can start with Umna, then Pickles, then Techno.
Oops. my shit, my accident. Hey, I got out though, okay?
Yeah.
It's always better to use more to get out if you're not gonna get out. So, yeah, you see her walking right away, and you want to be aiming for. You always want to be aiming for corners because you want to land right away and then hug this wall so she can't even see you. Yeah. So
You're
coulda
just
got a
scared
bit
of me.
more
I didn't
poke.
even come
Yeah.
out.
You could have got a bit more poke, but it's always better to be on the safer side with Doomfist, just because your presence has so much value. If you're alive, the enemy knows it, and there's so much they can't do. Now I'm going to talk about sort of the more damage aspect of Doomfist. So Doomfist's punch does 50, if you do an initial punch with no charge up, it does 50 damage for the punch, and an additional 50 if your target hits something. So that right there did 100 damage. If I fully charge it, it'll do 250 damage. So 100 for the initial punch, and then 250 for the wall impact. When you charge, you're very slow, and you are just in like a very vulnerable position. So typically, you don't want to charge a punch unless you know you're very safe. Behind a Reinhardt shield or Diva defense matrixing you, Zarya bubble, any of these kind of things that keep you safe will allow you to get a easier free punch. If you guys come here, I'm going to sort of show you a little trick that you can use to allow yourself to charge your punch up a little bit. When you're on a high ground, you can fall off the high ground and use the gravity to make you move faster. So when you're charging punch, you're moving at half speed, but you still fall at the same speed. So I'm going to use my fall speed to kind of help me avoid any damage. And it's harder to hit you because you're not moving that half speed, you're moving full speed, you're just moving towards the ground. So anytime you can fall off high ground using the gravity to avoid that vulnerability, it's a really big deal, and it'll help you a lot. The additional benefit of your Doomfist punch being a part of your kit.
Stay down.
Oh no. You can come back a soldier, I think, right away. So Doomfist punch is also a stun. It comes on a 4-second cooldown, which is one of the faster stuns in the game. You don't always have to full charge to get value. Sometimes it's better if Roadhog's healing, just to punch him so he doesn't finish his heal. Or if you see Roadhog gets a hook, any stuff like this, if Ryan's pinning, you can counter pin with it. It's just really strong for you to use the stun ability of it, rather than always trying to get a kill.
Does it stun just like anything a McCree stun would be able to get off, like a Reaper ult or like a Genji blade? I know it would stop the blade after the stun's over, but is it the same thing?
It's the exact same. It's the exact same thing. It's a full stun, and it's like one of those cancellation stuns. So any channeled abilities, so Pharah ult, McCree ult,
it'll stop the ult.
It will stop the ult.
Wow.
And all it takes is like a half-second punch, so it's really strong.
It doesn't matter if it's fully charged or not, it's gonna stun no matter what. Cool.
Yeah, so that's the benefit of doing a quick punch rather than a charge punch, is if you do a charge punch, it takes 1 second to do a 1-second stun. 1 second stun, sorry guys. But if you do it instantly, it's just an instant stun, it does less damage, but it can help set up a combo, or maybe it can save a teammate.
Or it'll stop the Reaper ult, which is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just get a lot of value out of the stun aspect of it. It doesn't always have to be used to try and get the big punch or the one-shot kill. Is there anything else you guys wanted to know about the punch?
Were you going to talk about crossing gaps with it?
Yeah, I was about to. I remembered last second. So anytime you can use your punch to move somewhere or to position, that's your best bet, because the punch is on a 4-second cooldown. Every other ability is on an 8-second. So if I wanted to get up here, a lot of people would do the shift seismic slam to position on this high ground. If I can do it, if you come out here, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a lot easier and a lot faster for me to use my punch to get up here. And now I have all my abilities back in 4 seconds rather than having to wait 8 seconds for my other abilities to be up. So you always want to be using punch for mobility, just because it's on such a short cooldown that it's going to come back up soon. And your other abilities actually are stronger, despite the fact that it might not feel like they're instant kills. Next, unless anyone had questions, next is the seismic slam. So seismic slam should typically be used as your engagement tool. You always want to use it from high ground, and it does have that crowd control aspect where anything you land beside, if you watch Trippage, she's not going to move, but if I land beside her, she moves towards me. So it can set up shots with your hand cannon because it brings people in closer, which means more guaranteed damage. And it also means people can't run
I'm sorry,
away. Yeah.
when you say seismic slam, is that our E ability or our shift ability?
E is your seismic slam.
Okay, got
this
it.
ability
Alright.
here,
Sorry,
where
go
you
ahead.
slam the ground. Yeah. Anything within that arc gets moved towards you, and it'll basically be touching you by the end of its channel time, which I think is 1 second. So it's really good for setting up damage with a hand cannon. So Tripid's 1 health. I only shot her with 1 shot of the hand cannon and the seismic slam. So it's very, very strong that way, where I didn't need to use that instant punch. It's a lot faster and it's a lot safer. As well as you can move very far vertically with it, so it's great to engage. Seismic slam can also be used to kind of help yourself defending corners. So same thing, our point 1 was taken, we're here. I want to play this corner to sort of keep myself safe and keep getting my ult charge. I can shoot around it, and I can use the seismic slam against the wall to pull Tripid in if she walks in. But since I'm behind this wall, I'm safe. They can't shoot me, they can't do any damage. So it's just really free, where if they walk in, they get damaged. But if they don't walk in, I'm not really punished for it. So you can use it in the same way to scare off flankers when they're walking in, or just to kind of keep yourself safe as you're trying to poke. The last mobility part of your seismic slam is it changes where your hitbox, the bottom of your hitbox is when you're landing on high ground. So if there's high ground that I can't reach with my feet, I can reach it with my seismic slam. As long as your arm is the height of the high ground you want to reach, then you'll slam it and you'll get there. So it's really good for obtaining high ground if it's far away horizontally. You can travel any you can travel to any horizontal distance as long as it's not below, as long as it's not above where you're aiming.
Wait, I didn't catch that. So how are you guys jumping from there to there? You're hitting just E to get up there?
No. We're using shift, but shift only gets us to the height. Then I press E and I move horizontally there.
Got
Even though
it.
it's straight 180 degrees to get there, it lets you travel that full horizontal distance to obtain high ground. So, and your positioning is really important as Doomfist. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But it's really helpful anytime you can use an ability to position yourself, especially on the setup or the resets for the enemy, just to be in position on the high ground and waiting. Draw my notes here for a second. I think that was everything I wanted to say. The last thing, I didn't mention this, but you see that number when you press E. The longer you're in the air, the higher the number gets and the more damage you do. The minimum damage you can do is 49, regardless if the number's lower than it. And the most damage you can do is 125. So there's a little trick you can do where if you go off high ground or if you sort of lock yourself on a roof, for example, I can use my ability here, and I kind of stayed on top of that slant. It allowed me to get my full damage off to 125. If you guys saw what I did there.
So it's based on like how long you're in the air and not how high you are?
No, that's like a common misconception. So if you look, it doesn't matter how high I am. If you want to sort of test it for yourselves, you can come up to this bridge where you're really high. You can shift to get all your height, but then look straight down, like fully straight down, press E, and you'll see that you'll probably do 49 or less damage because you're moving straight down. So I did 65. Whereas if I looked out and sort of flew a little bit longer, you'll probably get a full 125 off this height. So if I look horizontally, I'm not looking down, I'm going to increase my hang time, and I just did full damage with that one, even though I didn't jump and I didn't use my shift. So it's fully based on your hang time, and it's not based at all on your height or anything like that. The more down you look, the faster you're going to drop, and you're actually going to decrease your damage. So a lot of the time, you want to be traveling horizontally to get your full damage off. That's everything I had for Seismic Slam. Do you guys have any additional questions on it?
Sorry, I might have missed it when you were respawning, but you did say that you can turn while you're like
Yeah,
in the
I
air,
actually
right?
don't know if I did mention that. So when you press E, you're gonna lock into where you're looking. So what you want to do is a lot of the time you want to just try and land beside an opponent, and you can change the direction of where the slam's gonna hit, but you can't change where you're gonna land. So as soon as I press E, I know where I'm gonna land. But a lot of the time, what you want to do is you want to land behind, especially Soldier. Soldier's going to be shooting me while I'm looking. So if I press E, I can land behind him, turn around, pull him towards me, and now he has to turn around to shoot. So it's a big benefit to land beside or behind your targets, and you can change the way you're looking. Especially because you know you're going to turn, they don't know they need to turn. So you have that sort of mental time where they're going to take 1 or 2 seconds to realize that you're behind them, and you get a lot of free damage in that time.
Why is it that I get that triangle thing indicating where, you know, my slam's gonna hit? Only if I hit my shift before it, and not if I only hit E.
You need to get that triangle, you need to have a certain amount of height. Typically, it doesn't appear if you're gonna drop where your aimer is aimed, to an extent. So it only really appears if it's really unpredictable or if you're really high.
Okay,
Other than that,
but if I hit E from up here, which this is pretty high, isn't it? Or are you saying this isn't high?
from up here,
It doesn't appear if I just
if
hit
you,
E.
it appears for me if you jump first. You can't be on the ground for it to appear.
I jumped, I didn't get
So if you go there, you jump, and you put your aimer a little bit further, you can get it to appear from this height.
Ah.
So if I'm standing here and I look at where my aimer is here, and keep jumping, you should see it appear, even without shift. So it's just based on like your height and distance. It doesn't really change anything. It just it'll help you, just because it's so hard to get used to learning how far you can do it. Sometimes you lose your horizontal like sort of thought, or your horizontal distance. It basically just tells you when you're going to go past your maximum horizontal distance.
Is anyone else seeing it when they hit E? I'm not.
You just broke the game, Emna.
Yeah, you don't even have to press E to see it. Like if I'm standing on this corner right here, like perfectly on this rock, all I have to do is jump and I see the aimer.
Okay, I'm really high right now, so I should be able to see it. when I hit
You
E.
can't be over the ground. So like just jump and go a little bit over the gap. You'll see it when you're not above the bridge.
I did not see it at all. Maybe I'm just missing
Here,
it.
come
or
up
something.
with me. I'll show you.
I
Come right
think I can see either, but it's like if I keep holding E down, then I see it.
Oh,
but
you're
if I
holding it? Okay, I can try
No,
that.
that won't change it. You can
Oh.
see it without pressing E at all. So if
Okay.
you come here,
I don't
Just-
see it.
jump off and look past Tripid. Jump off here and look past. You should see it.
When do you... Oh, okay. Oh, I did see it. You're right. Absolutely.
So when there's a lot of space underneath you in the ground, it shows up. But if you're just jumping on top of the bridge, it won't. So you gotta jump off the bridge.
Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, I see it now.
Oh, so
Okay.
if I jump from here, I should do this.
So the game doesn't understand when you're on the bridge that you're on high ground. You have to
So
actually.
you have to
be
be on the air?
So a way you
like,
can cheat it- yeah, if you stand on the very
Yeah.
tip, and half your body is in there, you can kind of cheat it to see it every time you jump. So where I am now, I always have it up when I jump. If you play
Okay.
Doomfist enough, though, you'll start to sort of learn where you're going to go without having to see the indicator. But
Yeah.
they kind of program the indicator, like I said, when you're high and your max horizontal distance is changing, you can't really memorize it because it changes with every different height. So that's when they add the indicator. You don't have the indicator normally because you have a standard how far you're going to go horizontally. And if you play the character enough, you're just going to memorize it, and the blue indicator is going to be in your way. It could be very annoying if it was on your screen always.
yeah, okay.
Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to ask about Seismic Slam?
Nope.
Perfect. Last, we'll talk about your shift ability. If you guys come down here, shift ability is your only vertical mobility, so it's really what helps you contest the high ground or get up to it. You can't really use it to disengage from a fight. So, for example, say my team lost this fight. If I needed to get away, I would be able to use my Seismic Slam or my punch to cross the bridge or to start running away. Your shift can't really do that, so you should almost always be kind of using it for combos or for damage. That's fine, you just spawn right here. One little trick I did learn to sort of help you use it for mobility is anytime you use it, you lock in your velocity and how fast you're going. So if you encounter an obstacle, like something like this, a ceiling or a doorway, you'll change the direction you're going. So I'm not going to press anything on my keyboard other than shift, and you're going to see what happens when you hit something while you're going up. So I turned that shift movement into a sideways movement. Even though it's a vertical ability, you can hit doorways and hit ceilings to move yourself sideways. It's not super useful mechanic, but it is great if you can get good at it coming out of spawn. You can then use your shift to move forward out of the spawn door, because it's not really going to help you any other ways. It doesn't make you travel any further with either of your other abilities.
And then ledges.
So you can use that ability like on roofs or slanted roofs to basically just move horizontally. It'll either help you dodge or it'll help you get back into the fight quickly. It takes a lot of practice, and this is actually a really bad doorway to explain it, but if you practice enough, you'll start to learn where to hit the doorway when you're coming out to move horizontally. It can boost you, I think, close to 5 to 8 meters, which it will buy you a lot of time. That's almost the same as your E ability. The biggest benefit of your shift, though, it's not mobility, obviously. It is the fact that it has CC. So whenever you hit any people with your shift, it can hit up to 2 people, and it locks their movement back. So if I hit Trippage, she can't walk back towards me until she hits the ground. You can, if you're gonna fall, you can just hit your Q, and then you'll be safe.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize.
But your shift is really strong for pushing people back. It specifically should be used on tanks, unless you're using it for a combo. When the tanks are trying to walk in, Reinhardt's walking in with a shield, you can hit him with your shift, and then he's stuck until he hits the ground. So it's going to take him so long to walk into your team, because as soon as he gets back to where he is, you have it again, and you can just do it again. And you can do it over and over, building your shields and just wasting their time as they try to walk in.
So, like, does that mean that no one can use their abilities when they're flying? So, like, for example, if I did this to a Tracer, she wouldn't be able to blink until she hits the ground. Is that right?
No, it only cancels their movement. It doesn't cancel any of their abilities. It's not a
got
stun.
it. Okay.
So the difference between, like, crowd control, all stuns are crowd control because it controls enemy movement, but not all crowd controls are stuns. So that's the difference. Where your Seismic Slam, it controls where she's gonna go. My shift controls where she's gonna go, but it doesn't stun her. It doesn't stop her from shooting or using any of her abilities. It is helpful though, because Ryan's purpose isn't to be killing us or using his abilities. Ryan's purpose is to build a lot of space for his team. Same thing with Winston and any basically tank. Their job is to make space and walk onto point because they have the big health pools. So if you keep knocking him back, even though he can still hold his shield up and still do whatever he wants, he can't build space for his team. So you're denying his only job, and you can kind of keep bullying him like that. That's the best use of shift, other than the combos that I'll teach you a little bit later. So shift, unlike seismic slam, it doesn't hit everybody in its area. It'll only hit the 2 closest opponents. So you can't hit a full team of 6 or any tanks that are bunched up. It'll only hit the 2 closest to you.
Conflict.
But we can move back to point 1, and I'll start teaching you the fun stuff, how to actually get kills with Doomfist combos. So if you guys want to position yourselves up there, I'll show you the first combo with Doomfist. You guys can just wait up here. There's 3 essential combos to Doomfist. These are like the best ways to use your abilities. There's one that you should be doing over and over. I'm going to teach that to you guys last so you get an opportunity to practice it. This is your first ability. You should be using it when you're on the same horizontal plane. So I don't have high ground to engage. And you should also be using this when you need to stun your opponent. So we talked about the quick punch being a stun. So if this is maybe a McCree that I'm afraid he's going to flash me, or even Soldier, I want to stun him before he puts down his healing pad. I can engage with my quick punch. I don't need to charge it because he's going to shoot me in the face if I wait too long. So I'll just quick punch him. And then what I'm going to do after that is as soon as he's done the stun, he's going to start shooting me. So I'm going to use my seismic slam to go past him and behind him. So now he doesn't know where I am. It's going to take him too long to turn around, and I can just kill him. So before he could even turn around, I had him killed with only 2 abilities. A good example for this is as soon as I finish that kill, I purposely picked this spot because then I can use my shift and I'm away and I'm safe. Now I can wait 8 seconds, get all my abilities back up, and go back into the fight. The next example of your combo you're going to use, so that's your punch and your seismic slam. So that's your right mouse button and your E. You use that when there's no wall to hit your opponent against. If you have a wall to hit your opponent against, you don't need that E to build space and to engage because you're already right beside your opponent. So this time I'm going to hit trip it into this wall, and I'm going to use my uppercut as my follow-up damage. It's a lot more beneficial because E is a lot better for getting out of the fight. I always want to use 1 or 2 abilities to get a kill, and then the rest of my abilities to get out of the fight and get my cooldowns back. This is really important just because you're going to be able to get a kill every 8 seconds if you're able to continuously do this. So I'm going to punch her into the wall. It'll do 100 damage. And then I'm going to shoot once, uppercut. And if I need to, I'll melee to finish.
Don't let me.
So I didn't even need to uppercut. I didn't even need to do anything there because the 100 damage and then the 60 from my gun did enough. So like I said before, you always want to be doing 1 or 2 minimum, always 1 shot between each ability. So I'm going to punch, 1 shot, and then I'm going to shift. I didn't want to do it there because I don't want to kill her yet. But
Yeah.
that's always when I'm mentioning these combos, I'm not mentioning that you have to shoot. But if you always have time to shoot 1 shot before you can do another ability because of the CC and the stuns that you have. So just remember, you stun, E, shoot, or E shift shoot. So we'll walk over to the bread and butter of Doomfist. This is your most important combo, and this is what has to sort of be practiced until you can do it continuously. So all of you guys can come up here on the bridge with me this time. And this is just the absolute most important combo. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but as we said, Seismic Slam is your engagement tool. So we're on high ground. We're going to use Seismic Slam to appear behind or beside Trippin. After that, I'm going to use 1 shot because you always shoot in between a combo. And then I'm going to use Shift to finish the kill. If I do this correctly, I only need to use 1 shot of my hand cannon because I'm going to do about 100 damage with my Seismic Slam. I'm going to do 50 damage with my Shift, and I should be doing another 50 with my shot because she's so close to me that I should hit every single pellet. So this is what it should look like if you do it correctly. I used 1 shot and 2 abilities.
Are you guys not freaking out about how fast that was?
Okay,
Like-
did you
Yeah.
right click or did you just hit E and shift?
You don't right click. So
You
the
did not
combo
right
is
click, okay.
Trippin', you can move to the side. I don't want to kill you again, so one of them can try. I'm gonna do it over here. So you're gonna see, I'm gonna do it very, very slowly for you. So I E, and then once I land, I'm gonna quickly shoot 1 bullet.
Okay.
Like I said, your seismic slam has CC. So at this point, the soldier's moving into you. He can't run away. You can't miss this shot. So it's a really free, really easy 1 shot. Now he's right on top of me, so I can't miss my uppercut. It has basically the hitbox of right in front of me. So after I get that 1 shot, after my seismic slam, I'm gonna just uppercut, and if that killed the soldier last time, I didn't even need to shoot. But after that uppercut, you can get into the habit of 1 more shot and a melee. That'll always guarantee a kill, and it's more free than a Doomfist punch because it's so fast and so hard to deny. So I'll do it 1 more time, really slowly on Trippin while she's standing here. I'm just gonna do everything slowly once at a time. So I use the seismic slam, and as she got pulled towards me, I'll shoot once. You can see she now has less than 50 health. If I shift, she's gonna die. So I only use 1 shot, I use the seismic slam, and I use 1 shift. So you're using almost no resources to get a really easy kill. The biggest benefit to that combo is I didn't use my punch. And like we mentioned earlier, punch is really strong for being mobile. So if I jump into the middle of their team trying to get a kill, I want to get out right afterwards. So I can do that combo and then right away use my punch to get out. In that example, I didn't kill her. But,
Oh, wow.
so you guys can practice that combo. You don't have to do the punch at the end. But right now, you should be trying your seismic slam, shoot 1 shot, and then shift.
Sorry.
It's okay.
A little bit of helpful advice. You can move to the side a little bit, Trip It, so we can just practice on the ground at first. You can turn around before you land. You already know she's going to be behind you. So I don't have to wait until I'm about to land to 180. I can 180 while I'm in the air, and I know she's going to land behind me. Or just on the way. That way you kind of have a little bit better mouse control, and you can make a minor adjustments at the last second. So we can go through the list in order, practicing on tripping. We'll practice with 2 shots just in case, because it's not always an easy combo to hit. We're going to use seismic slam, we're going to shoot 1, we're going to shift, and then we're going to shoot another 1. And hopefully that'll get you the kill. Amna can go first.
Oh, God.
You got this.
You can do it slowly if you need to.
Where'd she go? I lost her.
So you know when you shift, she moves the direction that you were facing when you punch.
So she just
So-
went forward towards the
So
bridge.
she just goes
Yeah.
forward. Yeah, you're controlling where she moves. So all of your hand cannon shots should be guaranteed hits because you know where she's gonna be and she doesn't even know.
Okay.
So it's really easy. So you can just try really, really slowly. You don't have to do a quick combo like I did. You can just Pickles can go next. Just do one land on her, do 1 shot, and then a shift and a shot.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, so you
Like,
use the
I've-
shift to engage there. You
Yeah.
don't. You're already on high ground. If you use shift, then you lose the combo. So
Okay.
you don't want to use it. Like you'll
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
get a little bit more damage on your E, but it's better to have that 50 later on. Plus the UCC her, so you get a free shotgun shot as well.
Phew. Okay. Yeah, it's so
That's fine,
confusing. It's like
So just do it
so
one at a
many
time.
things.
Watch. Yeah, I think I'm teaching you too much. So just watch how I do it. I'm gonna do it really slow. We're
Yeah.
not gonna crash. We're just gonna press E, and that's it. She got pulled towards me. I'm gonna shoot
Okay.
once. That's it, and then you can heal yourself up. But then I would shift. You don't do it quickly like me. So just E, land on her, shoot once, and then shift.
Ah, phew.
I found
Yeah.
Almost.
Okay.
You see how low her health is, right? You
Yeah.
would be able to finish that with a melee or 1 more shot. So
Yeah.
typically, if you want to, practice it correctly, just always use 1 shot between each ability.
Yeah. It's so hard because I'm used to playing the characters where you basically just hold the mouse button down all the time. Just like now I have to count like 1, 2, and then do other stuff, and then again 1, 2. It's so different.
When,
But
when you
it's so
can do
cool.
those 3 combos, they're just gonna be like, it's gonna feel like one motion to you. Like, especially this combo, this can kill any of like the weaker characters. This can kill any non-tank, basically instantly before they can do anything. Like, even if Trippid had her healing pad up, I can probably still kill her through it because it's such a strong combo.
Yeah, now I know why and or how I've been like countered by the few Doomfists. It's like I just felt like I couldn't do anything, and now I see this is what they're doing. It's amazing.
So everyone come up here. We're gonna try it one more time, just really slowly. I want to make sure everyone has this down. Just
I don't
make
think
sure
Techno's
you're
tried yet.
Yeah,
No.
Techno can try it. So use your slam beside her. You just work one step at a time. One shot. And
Nice.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Nice.
Didn't finish the kill, but it's better that you just understand how the combo works than having to get the kill every time. So Amna, you can try. We can just keep cycling through Amna, Pickles, and Techno in that order. If you don't get the kill, that's fine, because you still have your punch available. So if you need to get out of the fight, you can always do the bump punch we talked about.
I
Do you
cheated
wanna-
there, sorry, Pickle. I was in the healing circle.
It's
Pickles,
fine.
you want to make sure you're using your shift to finish your combo.
Oh
So,
yeah, okay.
Like I said, when you shift, you force where she's moving. So I almost killed her there alone, just off of shooting when I knew her where she was moving. So all of your abilities are like locking where your enemy is going. So you want to make sure that you're using those to help get the hand cannon. So
Yeah.
all of your abilities are kind of helping each other, where your abilities help the hand cannon get damage, and your hand cannon is following up on your abilities. Oh no. The reason this combo is so strong is because once you're done it, you're left in the air and you still have punch available. So if I can do this correctly, which I think every single time I say it, I don't, I should be able to kill Trippid and get out of the fight in like about less than a second. So Trippid, you can heal up and I'll show you guys.
Sorry.
She's
fine.
healed.
Yeah.
Instant heal. I'll show you guys how the combo should look off of the engage and disengage. So the point of this drill is I engage, I get a kill, and I disengage. If you don't get a kill but you get out safe, it's still a win. You're slowly learning how to use the ability, and at least you're not dead. So I'm gonna do the same combo we did before, but as soon as I'm in the air and I'm finished the kill, I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna use my punch to get out of the fight. So and I'm gone.
Jesus.
I'm back on first place. So this just like really screws with the DPS and the supports, because by the time they react, you're already out of the fight and got a kill.
I found you.
Oh my god. Doomfist is just terrifying. I will never underestimate any Doomfist ever again.
So if you guys want, you can try that combo. You're gonna have to go a little bit. That's fine. Use your shit. Okay.
I was too far.
Yeah. The point of it is just make sure, like, if you miss, that's fine. Use your shift and use your punch to get out, because that's what we're practicing. We're practicing the disengage as well.
Okay.
So if you hold space when you punch, you don't have to charge it to get a lot of distance. I don't know if I mentioned it.
Yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do here. You don't want to wait a full second to get like very far. You want to get decently far instantly. So as soon as you hit shift and you're in the air, use your quick bump punch to just get out. When this combo is executed like properly,
Nice.
it's just like you're instantly in and instantly out, and you got a kill. And it's just terrifying for the enemies.
It is terrifying, let me tell you.
So, has anyone not got a chance to try the disengage with the combo, or does anyone want to? Because now it's the time. This is like the most important part of what you're gonna learn with this.
Oh, that was incredible, Imna. I had 4 health left.
4? Ah.
Yeah.
So you can practice. Did you shoot after you finished your shift, or did you right away turn around?
Yeah, I hit E and then I shot. I left clicked and then I hit shift. I didn't shoot after shift though.
Okay, so if you shoot after shift, that would be a complete kill.
Okay.
It's still a win. Like that's amazing. You're starting to learn how to combo and maneuver with your abilities. So,
Oh, sorry.
Like,
Oh my god!
playing Doomfist this way, you're gonna get so much more value playing with his combos, and just understanding that don't use all of your abilities to get kills. So I'm getting a lot of value out of disengaging
I
with
miss.
a punch.
Is there damage fall off on the E ability?
On your seismic slam,
Yeah, like the further away the
No.
person is.
the entire arc does the same amount of damage.
It does. Okay.
That's a good question. I actually never thought about that. I can guarantee that the entire arc does do the full damage though.
Okay.
So you guys can practice this in the quick play range or anything, anywhere you want. I'd honestly just get used to comboing all of these abilities. Like,
Oops.
making sure you can do this with your eyes closed should definitely be possible, because you're locking in all of Soul's movement, and you really kind of leave them helpless. So once you know this ability, you can basically just keep using this one combo over and over and over to win a game. If you watch any Doomfists on Twitch or on YouTube, this is basically what they're doing the entire game. Every 8 seconds, they do this to get a kill, and then their team wins. Some of them do a bit fancier stuff, but this is all it takes to play Doomfist at a GM level, is hitting this combo over and over and over. So we can move on. We might have time to practice these combos again later. But I just want an opportunity to talk about a little bit more about your positioning, your roles, and counters, as well as alt and passive. So your positioning is really dependent on what you plan to do at the beginning of a team fight, or what you plan to do in the middle. So you have 3 jobs that you can do and that you can fit into. One is the Backline Peeler. So the Backline Peeler is just helping your support stay alive. If they're having a lot of trouble with flankers and someone's always on them, you can stand right beside them, right near them, and anytime a Tracer or a Genji tries to walk in, you can just shoot them once or twice, they'll get scared, or you can even just charge your punch. You don't even need to punch them. If they hear your charge punching, they know if they walk in, they die. So it'll buy your healers another 1 or 2 seconds to heal each other and stay alive. So even small stuff like that, you just being positioned with your team can scare the flankers into not killing the supports, which means that two of the enemies aren't doing their job. So it's just really, really valuable for you to be positioned with them if that's what your team needs.
I have a question.
Another thing you...
Oh, sorry. Go
Yep. No, that's fine. I was about to move on. So
It was about like how you mentioned scaring the flankers. That's kind of all you
Yep.
have to do. So like I noticed when I was hitting right click, but like I didn't actually want to charge, I can cancel it by left clicking, but I noticed that it activates my cooldown. Is there a way to cancel it without having to initiate the cooldown?
no, you'll have to, like, if you cancel it, as soon as you press it, whether you use it or not, it's gonna be on cooldown. But it takes 1 second to fully charge, and then you have 1 second to use it. So if you count all of that time together, all of your cooldown is 6 seconds, and 4 6th seconds, 2 seconds, the flankers will be scared that they're gonna die. So it's a lot of time that like you can buy your team. Basically every 6 seconds, the flankers can't do anything for 2 seconds, which like seconds are a really big deal in Overwatch. These flankers want to get in and instantly start winning the team fight. If they can't do anything to your supports, it's a really big deal. So you don't always need to hit the punch or like necessarily do anything. Like I said, if they hear your charge punching up, even when you cancel it, like they might go in, and then you can use your other abilities to kill them. We learned how to combo Seismic Slam and Shift to kill anyways, so you don't even need your punch to get a kill. The second roll, and that's a good point. I forgot to mention you can cancel your punch with left click if you charge it to full. But you can use it to scare people into not crossing corners, or if they do move in as soon as you're charging, you get a free kill. So it's really just like a win-win, where you're either buying space or you get a kill. The next thing you can do, I like to call it a frontline bully or a tank bully. So you're not going to get any kills on the front line. So frontline is tanks. So Ryan, Zarya, Roadhog, anyone in the tank category. You're not going to be able to use your combos to kill them. Our combos are basically good for 200-300 burst damage. So what you want to do is when they try and walk in, we talked about the shift, pushing them back and buying 2 seconds. Then when they come back, you can just punch them really lightly in the shield. It stuns them and knocks them back again.
I found.
So you can keep alternating these like abilities to make it feel like their tanks can't do anything and they'll feel really useless and can't walk in. When tanks walk in, they can't buy space for their DPS. So you can basically win a fight just because you negated the 2 tanks and made them feel useless the entire game. Like I said, you should be flowing between all of these things as you see necessary. So if you think your backline needs protection, that's where you should be. If you know that the Winston Diva are doing too much, maybe you should be where they're going to dive, and then you can punch them or shift them out of the way. The last thing that you can do, and the last place you can be, is what I like to call the temporary dive or the fragger. So an example of fragger would be Widow. She really does nothing else than get kills. If she hits the head, she gets a kill. If she doesn't get a kill. Doomfist is very similar, where you're not going to get follow-up on any of your damage. If you go in on someone, you should expect to have to do all the damage yourself. Luckily with his combos, it's really easy to do. As we learned, you can basically delete any 200 health target instantly. If you plan on being a temporary dive or a fragger, your positioning should be a lot more sneaky. So if you guys follow me, the example of where we used our combo is a good example of where a defensive Doomfist could hide to be really sneaky. So you can sit up here and, like we talked about, you can use height advantage to get an easier punch. So if I wanted, I could drop off, get a full charge punch, and try and punch Trippin. Or I can wait until the team walks in, and then I can use my combo. So just sitting on the high ground makes it so you don't have to use your abilities to get into the fight. The more abilities you have for damage, the better. And especially with our combo, we see that you need all 3 abilities to kill someone and get out. So it's really beneficial for you to already be behind them or already be near them. This is a prime example of where you'd want to be, but we do have those horizontal ground combos we can do also. So if they keep checking their corners and they know you're up there, you can maybe rotate to here, or you can hide in any of the high grounds up here. Basically, if you're doing a frag DPS or a temporary dive, the goal of it is to just be hidden. You don't want the enemies knowing where you're coming from. You want to be able to get that kill and get out before they know you were even there. Is there anything you guys need to know about positioning or anything I just said?
Nope.
Perfect. So next we're going to talk about Doomfist ult. So Doomfist ult is really awesome. It has, I like to think of it as a passive quality. The passive quality is basically a get out of jail free card. You're very unkillable when you have your ult. And the great part is I can commit all of my abilities to diving. And then I can use my ult to get out. So you don't need to use your punch for the mobility. I can, do our combo. Say I killed a support with the combo. Now I can punch Tripid. And if the team's still here, I can use my ult to get out really safely. If, for example, I kill 2 and now I'm pretty safe and my team walks up and protects me, I don't need to use my ult to get out. And I can keep holding onto it, and I can keep playing dangerous. You want to hold your ult as long as possible so that you can keep just playing dangerous as long as you can. Playing dangerous and having your ult up allows you to, like I said, you don't need to use your abilities for mobility, which means that you can get 2 kills instead of 1 every single time you dive. And if your team does a good job of walking in, or they were separated and you killed 2 without having any risk, you can continually do it over and over without being punished. I recommend holding your ult as long as you can until you think you're going to die. So if you go in and you miss your shots, then you use your ult to get out and regroup. If you're going to use your ult aggressively, then you want to do it on non-mobile targets. So basically any support other than Lucio, and then no one with mobility. So Soldier has infinite mobility with his run. You don't want to go for him, because if you do hit him, he'll just be able to run out and he won't take the lethal 300 damage in the center of the circle. He'll probably just take 100, and by the time you can do anything, he'll just be running away or be healing up. So you always want to be hitting stuff that's stationary, like a McCree, any of the supports, Zen, Anna. Bastion's an awesome example of someone that's just countered really hard by Doomfist's aggressive ult. A lot of the time, your ult is better at getting out or setting up a flank. So if I got my kill here and I did everything, I can use my ult to reset up, come back to the high ground again, and then as soon as I have my abilities up, I can do it all over again and get another 2 or another 1 with my abilities. So that's really how your ult should be used. It should be less thought of as an aggressive ult and more thought of as a way to get out or a way to reset up your combo. Doomfist kit is always about just setting up combo after combo after combo.
I found.
Did you want to mention the shields?
Yeah. So Doomfist has a passive ability which builds shields on every single ability you use and when you use your ult. So if you hit any ability, regardless of how many people you hit or what damage you hit, you're gonna get 30 shields from anything you do. So even if I just really lightly tap trip it here with my abilities, I forgot I shot. It's just muscle memory. I shoot after every ability, no matter what. So I got 120 shields off that, even though I just like kind of lightly hit her with everything. So it's a good idea before you engage if you're attacking. You can play that tank bully style where you can hit, you know, Ryan through his shield, bully him, and you're gonna get some free shields before you engage. So it's always a good idea, the same way that you'd play Zarya and kind of use your shields to get a lot of energy before a fight starts. You can use Doomfist abilities to build the shields before a fight starts. As well as the 30 shields from every ability, you get 75 shields for every enemy hit with your ult. Your shields cap at 150, so you can only max out at 400 health unless you have like the sim or some shields or some armor, I mean. But on your own, you can only get 400 health with 150 boosts of shields. That means when you ult, the most shields you can get is just hitting 2 people. So you don't always need to hit 6 people to try and get a lot of shields and be safe. If you hit 2 people with your ult, even anywhere in the circle, even just 1 damage, you build 150 shields and you might be more sustainable to the fight. Did you have any questions about the ult or Doomfist's passive? Perfect. Okay. So lastly, we'll talk about counters then. So Doomfist counters are basically any enemy that can abuse or use sightlines, and then as well as any enemy that has crowd control. So if you are facing an enemy that can use and abuse sightlines, which would be Pharah, Soldier, McCree, basically any hit scan, and then as well as, you know, anyone that like Pharah that can just like sit far away and do damage from far away. Your goal is basically to find the fastest route to that person without taking damage. So for example, if we had our soldier up on the high ground here, we see where he is. It's really dangerous for me to take this. You guys can follow me so you can see what I'm talking about. The soldier's up on high ground here where he should be. He can see the whole map at this point, so I don't really want to be running at him because he'll just shoot me, right? I'm so sustainable to damage here. So what I want to do is I can use my abilities to kind of close the gap as much as possible. So we know there's tons of different routes I can take. I can either go through the right side through that little castle, or you know, I can punch here, kind of hide, try and buy my time on the flank. And with all of this time I buy, you know, I can get in through the cafe. I can abuse these sightlines. If he chooses to fight me down here, he's gonna lose. And then if he chooses not to fight me, I can just come here and I'm instantly on him before he did any damage. We saw how much burst damage we can do. If Soldier and Doomfist are in a burst damage fight, where whoever does the most damage wins, we know Doomfist is gonna win. He does the most burst damage with his combos. So that's the best way to counter a sightline counter, where McCree or Soldier or Pharah are kind of pounding you. With the exception of Pharah, you can't really close in on her and kill her. Your best job is to just avoid her rockets and kill everything else. So if the supports are hiding in here, Pharah really can't help them without committing to it. So something like that, for example, just anytime you can avoid sightlines, you basically remove Doomfist's biggest counter. The second counter is CC. So that includes Roadhog Hook, Anna's Sleep Dart, McCree Stun. So the best way to counter that is actually just ability tracking. So if you guys know what ability tracking is, it's just basically listening for the abilities, so you can hear when anyone uses an ability. Whenever a soldier uses Helix Rocket or Healing Pad, you can hear it if you're within a certain range. So you want to be listening for these abilities that are going to deny you space or going to like sort of just counter you. And as soon as you hear them, you want to act upon it. So if you hear Anna use a sleep dart, you know she's a free kill, so you can dive her right away, kill her, and now you know there's that CC can't counter you anymore in the fight. So just basically through those two, I almost want to call them disciplines. If you're just disciplined in avoiding sightlines and listening to abilities, Doomfist really doesn't have a counter. Like, he's just such a strong hero and so versatile that the better you are, the better you can be with him. And I think that's why he's like a really good stream hero, where you see people streaming him. He just feels like invincible because those people are so well disciplined with everything they have to do. I think that's everything I had on my notes. If you guys have any additional, did I miss anything?
Did you talk? You didn't talk about the roof. The glide.
I was gonna do that now, so you guys can follow me. I mentioned before, your E, your seismic slam, does a ton of damage off of hang time. So what you can do is you can set up these really big, massive flanks, and then you can use them to kind of get behind the enemy and get your full damage, the 125 damage, the max damage, off the slam onto an enemy and basically get an instant kill. So right now I'm going to try one of the more complicated icon-walled flanks or setups for Doomfist. This is like really possible. You can just hop into a custom game and try it out a few times. But if you guys want to alt and hold your right click, just look at the top of this roof here that I'm shooting. If you just hold it on top, you can watch. I'm going to show you how to do this flank. So I'm gonna, if you guys pop the alt and look up there, you're gonna have a much better perspective. Right. So I'm just gonna shift. I'm gonna use my punch to bounce off the roof, and then I'm gonna land behind a chimney. You can't really see it from my angle, but I know there's a chimney there that I can just hide behind. I'm gonna use the chimney to sort of cancel my movement, and now I can wait for my cooldowns. So as soon as I have my cooldowns back up, I can engage from here. And if I do it, I messed up a bit, but if the support is here, I can hit them here. If I did it properly, you can actually land in choke with the full guaranteed 125 damage. And there's no way an enemy is ever going to see you when you're up there. It's just like a really cool sort of flank spot you can hide. So I'll try it one more time, see if I can land in the choke. See, that's enough. But you guys can try it if you want. It's one sort of like mechanically demanding sort of thing you always have to learn. But if you want, you can either land there with Doomfist ult, or you can do it from here. I'll show you how to get there. So off the top of this vehicle, you want to shift, and then you're going to do your bump punch. You don't want to do a real punch, because then you'll hit the wall. You do the bump punch, and then try and land on the chimney.
Oh my god, there's no way I'm gonna get this.
Whee! Whoa!
Oh my god. Ah! No! Seriously.
So you want to shift first? So I'll show you how it's done, or Techno can try, and then I'll show you one more time. And this isn't really a necessity, it's just one more part of Doomfist's kit that you can learn to kind of master him, and I wanted to make sure I covered it. So I'm gonna jump, and I'm gonna move this way a little bit after I shift, and then I'm gonna, if you do this, you will see where the chimney is as you sort of do it. So you want to jump to the side a little bit as you shift.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
that was
did
close.
But I kept sliding!
Yeah, it's really hard. You have to like cancel your momentum against the chimney. It takes a little bit of practice.
Oh, Techno! Did you get it?
Wait,
So close.
you just have to
Actually-
like center yourself with the chimney, is that right?
Yeah, you want to go really early to reverse your momentum. So if you're moving right really quickly, start holding left before you need to start to like
Oh, okay, I
even
know
yourself
what you
out.
mean. Okay.
Even if it takes you like that long and you're sort of stalling, moving left and right, you're gonna start to get your abilities back. So if you start falling, just look in between the two like castle tops and try and land with your seismic slam in the choke. I'm sure even if it just takes you a little while, you might have your abilities back.
This looks so funny.
Yeah.
Like you guys just sliding up the roof. Makes
Oh,
no
you got it.
sense.
Oh, I'm in there.
Nice!
So if you wait,
Oh.
it'll So there's a mechanic in the game that kind of recognizes this. If you get stuck somewhere, it'll bounce you up in I think 5 seconds. So if you're stuck somewhere in the map, in 5 seconds, it'll do like an automatic jump. Then you can normally use that to try and engage. This is just another sort of fun thing you can practice. It's really sneaky if you can get it. Like, it just feels like a really cheap and easy kill on the supports. And then I wanted to show you the last reason I wanted to pick Eichenwald for the Doomfist class is because this is my favorite Doomfist flank in the game. If you guys come meet me over here. You can actually use all your abilities to get around to the defensive side, the defensive spawn. So you're gonna punch, uppercut, and then... Actually, our first class, everyone got it, I think, on their first try, so I believe in you guys.
Master the gap, Amna. Master the ledge.
If you punch, then uppercut, then E, you can make it. I suggest as soon as you see the ledge after your uppercut, just keep pressing Seismic Slam as fast as you possibly can. It doesn't cancel if you press it twice, so there's no point in not just spamming it until you hit it.
Oh my god.
Oh, I can make it! So if you don't make it, remember you can just use your ult to retry.
I found it.
Too slow.
Oh god.
We're hearing his faint screams as he falls.
I jinxed us.
I told him! I didn't even know where the other side was! I couldn't see it!
So there we go. I finally got it now.
No. Oh god.
Meteor strike.
So you want to make sure you're using the bump punch with the space.
Are you just
like
doing
magic?
Are you doing the baby jump punch or the...
You can,
Nice,
you can do
Amna.
both. If you start here, you can do it with the baby bump punch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really scary. Like, it's terrifying because you don't know. But that's why I suggest like you spam it. So as soon as you hit the window when you can land,
Hey,
you'll land.
I did it.
So, and getting back's a lot easier.
Jesus,
Getting back is the uppercut.
Ah.
Wait, what did you say about not needing the uppercut?
If you on the way back, like if you're a defender
okay.
moving to attack spawn, you don't need an uppercut. I was trying for like half an hour today to see if I could do both ways, no uppercut, but I don't think it's possible. Like I think I had like perfect abilities, like with the long bump, and I still couldn't do it. But there's just like Eichenwald's really fun with these steep roofs. Steep roofs. You can play like a lot with your sort of bounce mechanics with the bump punch. I know the same way that we stayed on that chimney, I think I've seen like a few streamers do it here. Like I'm locked in here, so if I go, I can actually go into the attacker spawn. But I think other than like this sort of fun stuff, you can just do an Eichenwald. I don't really have anything else to share unless you guys had some additional questions for me.
Just the maps and composition again? Like,
Yep, every single time, but so basically what maps are Doomfist good at? I like to think of them just like the easy rule is Widow good on the map and is Ryan good on the map? If Widow's good on the map, that means Doomfist is probably not a good choice. And if Ryan is good on the map, it means Doomfist probably is a good choice. So Doomfist is a lot better for sort of like close quarter brawly spaces. So Horizon is a great example. Horizon Point 1 is really close and is always played on the point. So, and every single part of Horizon is basically a corridor. So you can really trap enemies and sort of just use your bully mechanics to win the fight. Same thing with King's Row. King's Row is like has really bad sight lines, which means Doomfist can do a lot for free. Even if they do end up putting a hit scan on high ground, there's just so many different tunnels and ways to get to him that you can kill him before he can even hit you. So those kind of maps where you'll run a Reinhardt or a Deathball comp are really good for Doom. I also like using him to counter Deathball or a quad tank. You can just use your CCs. So the benefit to using Doomfist instead of a Reaper or a Junkrat to counter quad tank is if one of those characters die, you know you're going to lose the fight for sure because you're relying your entire team on one character's burst damage. But if you try and counter them with Doomfist, you're basically just relying on focus fire and CC. So Doomfist buys time for your team to slowly whittle down the big health pools. So you'll slowly call one target at a time, and the rest of the enemy team can't really do much because you'll just keep using your abilities on cooldown to make them feel useless. But other than that, I think Doomfist can be used on every single map. I've seen him used effectively everywhere. Dallas Fuel actually used him on Eichenwald, and they used him a lot, like I was saying, to sort of buy space. Effect was on him, and he barely ever really got kills. All he did was make sure that nobody could kill Taimu. So like small stuff like that is really big, and just knowing that if your DPS dies, Doomfist can rotate from the role of being a protector to just getting insta kills is really big. The better you get at rotating positions and rotating your value with Doomfist, the better you're going to be, and then the higher rank you're going to get. So I said it at the beginning, Doomfist isn't best at anything. If you want to just continuously get kills, it's better to get good at Widow and just hit 1 or 2 headshots in a team fight. You're probably going to end up getting more kills and more frags than a Doomfist would. Same thing, if you want to be a dive, it's actually better just to be good, to get good at Tracer and Genji. But if you want to play in this sort of flowing mood where you're flowing from backline to frontline, protecting and like going on an assault, Doomfist is really the only hero that can do it, and that's where his value and his versatility is.
Cool.
Hello. Hey there. Hello. Hello there.
He's definitely a very unique character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello. Hello there. Hello.
Yeah, the things just like to practice are like trying to make sure you never have no abilities and no ammo. So like you feel very useless when you get hacked, for example. If you aren't managing your abilities properly, it's like you're hacking yourself. And like that's a good way to think of it. So you want to make sure that like you don't want to use all 3 of your abilities instantly. You always want to be using the hand cannon to sort of space it out and help your cooldowns. So it makes it feel like you always have at least one thing that you can use to get out of a fight or to help yourself. Cool.
Well, we technically are over time, so if there aren't any questions or anything like that, I think you covered everything.
Yeah, you were super thorough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was really awesome. I now understand how he works, even though I can't do everything just yet. But like, I'll keep practicing because it's really interesting character. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I totally understand you. Like, we even saw, like, I was trying to just show only abilities on Tripit, and I can't even help it anymore. Like, it's muscle memory. As soon as I use my abilities, I know to always do one shot in between everything. So, like, as soon as you get used to the mechanics of pressing 8 different buttons for one combo,
Yeah.
powerful.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much, Dancer, for hosting that. That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was super informative.